We've talked about outlining, writing a purpose statement, a thesis statement. We've looked at a key phrase outline for you to speak from. We've talked about organizing your pattern of organization or your main points. All of these things are being incubated as you write and put together your presentation. And you probably have a good handle on what you're going to be covering. This is a good time to go back through and fine-tune those cohesive units of thought. I use a cohesive unit of thought kind of like you would in a paper as a paragraph. So for example, as you go back through your presentation research or your outline, you might want to ask some questions. Do I have enough pathos, enough emotion to get people's attention? Logos, which is the logic or arrangement, to structure and have the audience follow where I'm going. And then ethos, is there anywhere in my paper where I can add credibility or give the audience a reason to trust me that I have the right to speak? Here are some different types of support that you can go back and inject into places where you think your presentation might be a little weak and may need some strengthening. So reasoning, I'm just going to use the two terms inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning. So let's say you have a unit of thought. One pattern that you can use is to give specific data that leads to a conclusion. Different points of truth that lead people to a general conclusion. The other way to arrange a paragraph is deductively. Start with the conclusion and work towards something specific. Like a syllogism would be an example of deductive reasoning. All men are mortal. Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal. That would be a general to specific a way of reasoning. You can also do deductive to a specific point, and then do inductive to a general conclusion. Think about how you might want to arrange a paragraph or sets of paragraphs based on reasoning. Now, reasoning, I would say, would fit under the logos category, because generally you're talking about structure. If your presentation, say you're a lot more logical person, a person who is very good at reasoning and data and statistics, you might want to inject more pathos. The way to do that is to use metaphor, which is also simile. A short simile would be something as busy as a bee. A metaphor, if I were to bring in a football metaphor right now, it's like we're already in the second half of the speech presentation game, and so we need to buckle down and really move towards a more stronger offense in choosing better support. See, that I'm just moving into a football metaphor. That would be pathos as well. An extended story where you tell a specific example and you use sight, taste, touch, sound, smell in your story to bring people in. Remember, you have to have all three of these if you go back to the first session in order to have a successful message. And so all we're doing in this session is going back and reviewing our presentation and seeing in individual different units of thought or paragraphs of thought, can we interject anything to build either pathos, logos, or ethos? Statistic would generally be more logos, and the thing about statistic is don't use them very often. Use statistics sparingly. They really bore the audience if you use too many of them. So just don't use them very often. When you do use statistics, I encourage those that are writing presentations or preparing a presentation to use not only use statistics sparingly, but also round up. So you wouldn't want to say there are 600 billion, 597 million, 323,000. That you would just say there's approximately 7 billion people in the world. By rounding up, it gives the audience members a chance to comprehend and remember your statistic. A quotation can be either logos or pathos, depending on the type. And it can also build credibility, because if you quote someone who's an expert, it's going to build credibility as well. Statistics can add ethos depending on your source. Examples can do all three depending on what type of example you use. Personal example would be more pathos. An example that is more includes more reasoning or logic would be logos, and an example that includes someone, for example, if you're giving a speech on surfing, if you give an example of an actual professional surfer, that's going to also build credibility. The point of this is not to get micromanaged, but to go back over your presentation and see, is there any place where I can add some of this support cohesively to make a difference and engage my audience?